One Piece chapter 1017 is out, and we get some new information in this chapter that really crafts some new theories for us. The cover story this week is Buggy being put together like a puzzle by a chimpanzee. Nothing real special here, but I do like that every time we see Buggy now, he's in some kind of form that's bigger than he normally is. This week's chapter basically takes place in two areas, and that's going to be at the live floor where Tama is, and that's going to be on the fourth floor where Who's Who is. A lot of the focus is on Tama and what happens when she gives her orders, and that part of the chapter I thought was pretty okay. We start off right off the bat with Tama getting ready to give her orders, but Queen yells at her and she passes out pretty quickly, kind of like how Perona or Sugar did beforehand. Now, when this initially happened, I didn't really get the idea of it because later on in the chapter, she gets back up and she still gives her orders, so it's not like she was stopped. It's just weird that she had this moment where she passed out for a couple of seconds. But afterwards, it made me think about the possibilities of someone knocking Tama out, or even the potential of her getting killed at some point in this arc. You would stand to think that, like most Devil Fruit users, when she's passed out, when she's not in play anymore, her ability fades away, which means all the gifters turn back to the Beast Pirate side. Now we get kind of a before and after viewpoint of the gifters because we're seeing them move throughout Onigashima and we're seeing what they're doing currently. And then once Tama gets her orders, we see how they switch and basically begin attacking each other. And we're kind of getting this comparison of powers. Basically, we have this giant army who's fighting at every fight. You know, you go to Jack, you go to Who's Who. And they're talking about how their fights are pretty much stacked up in favor for the Beast Pirates. And as soon as Tama gives her order, this pretty much cancels out. So it's not like the Beast Pirates just completely lose an army and the Alliance gains one. It's more like what they have cancels out and it's basically just the top tier fighters versus the top tier fighters. It makes me think how the 1v1s would have gone. Like, how is Who's Who versus Jinbei without any of the fodder? How is Jack and Inuyasha without the fodder? But in each way, I mean, I still see Jack being Inuyasha. I think Jinbei comes out with the win here over Who's Who. But I don't know if having all those people there, all the fodder kind of doing small damage but still damage nonetheless, really affects the overall 1v1 credibility of the fight. Now, the reason I mentioned earlier that this part of the chapter was just okay to me was because we knew this was coming. We have seen Tama heading to the live floor and we knew that she was setting up the Kimidango and the entire subplot of switching sides. At this point, I'm more interested in how this affects Tama and how this puts a target on her back, because at this point, she's now probably going to be the most wanted person on Onigashima in order to stop this revolt. So people like Kaido, people like, maybe some of the other Robo might start heading after Tama. Maybe we'll see King move in that direction, I'm not entirely sure. But basically, Tama is on the top of the watch list for people they need to take down. Queen immediately goes to shoot Tama and he's stopped by Sanji. So it looks like there is some kind of 1v1 going on here. It's still weird because, especially with King and Queen, they've been going back and forth with fighting people and kind of trying to take care of the entire war. So we have King, who's been giving out orders, fighting Marco. We have Queen, who has been kind of just looking over the entire battlefield. And he's been like tagging with Marco sometimes, he tags with Chopper sometimes, and now he's tagging with Sanji. So it seems like they're kind of just, they're fights, but they're not exactly their set 1v1 fights. So will we get more from Sanji and Queen? I'm pretty sure we will. I'm pretty sure we'll see that singular fight, but it looks like Queen is still trying to micromanage everything at once. After stopping his attack, Sanji mentions that Queen was a part of an old crazy science group, and Queen confirms it to be MADS. Now when I hear MADS, I immediately think of SAD and I think of SSG, and I feel like all those have to be connected in some way, shape, or form. When you think about it, MADS sounds kind of like the scientific version of the Rocks Pirates, because I'm assuming people like Caesar, Judge, Vegapunk, and some other big name scientists were a part of this group. What you would guess happened is that MADS was disbanded once Judge, Vegapunk, and Caesar became government affiliates. It's very possible that this happened before Queen was on the Beast Pirates, but we know he was there 20 years ago, so it seems like Queen's been here for a while. This seems like more backstory we might get with either Queen here, or when we get formally introduced into Vegapunk. Now we get to see Queen in his hybrid form after he talks about MADS, and he confirms he's a cyborg, which we guessed because we saw everything that was happening with him, he had to be a cyborg. But it's good to have the confirmation, and then we get to see kind of just what he's done with his body. His hybrid form basically looks like Queen, but, with the dinosaur neck. However, I find it very interesting that Queen has these kind of like hands you see on his left arm and you see on the end of his tail. He has almost like these fingers that look very similar to Frankie's design. Now we know that a lot of Frankie's upgrades he got from blueprints that Vegapunk had. So is there a connection here between what Queen has set up in his body and what Frankie used essentially years later? To go even farther, is there the possibility that Queen came up with some of the designs that Vegapunk used, or even in a other sense that Queen took some of Vegapunk's designs? I really do hope that gets explored more because I like what I'm seeing here with Queen as far as how he's designed himself. Like the adaptability with his devil fruit and his cyborg nature. I want to know if that happened before or after. Like, did he eat the devil fruit and it just worked with his cyborg enhancements? Or was it a matter of he had the devil fruit before and he made all these enhancements to his body? We spend a little time looking at how Chopper is treating Zoro in his damaged state, and it looks like he's about to get a miracle drug that basically gives him some vitality for a period of time, probably just enough for the raid, and basically doubles the effects of the pain afterwards. It sounds very similar to Ivankov's hormone drug where it gives you that huge boost of energy, but once that wears out, you're pretty much dead. And I found this kind of weird because Zoro is usually pretty good with pain tolerance, so how is this double effect going to hit him? At this point he has shattered bones, his body is just torn up, so I'm wondering if this heals the body, does it negate pain? What exactly does it do to get you up and running again? Because if it just negated pain, I feel like Zoro's body still wouldn't work the way he wanted it to because of all the broken bones. Either way, we knew Zoro wasn't out of the fight quite yet. He's going to be back in, and I'm assuming once Luffy gets back up to the top with Yamato, we're going to have Zoro up there too. And for what I find to be the most interesting part of the chapter, we get Who's Who versus Jinbei. Now this is one of the fights I've been waiting to see for a long time. I really like Who's Who, and I really want to see more of him. I think behind Ulti, he's probably my favorite of the Toby Robo. We even get to see some of their fight, which a lot of people have been waiting for, and I think the reason we were holding it back was because there were things about this fight that we couldn't see yet. And we see here that Who's Who is a Rokushiki user, and he used to be a CP9 government official. He even states that he was a rival to Rob Lucci, which is interesting because he has the same type of devil fruit that Lucci has, and he even looks very similar when he goes into his hybrid form. Now when I read this, I immediately thought of the moment earlier where Kaido is talking to the Toby Robo, and he's talking about them making it up to the commander level. What we get from the other commanders is that some of these people in the Toby Robo used to be pirate captains themselves. So how long has Who's Who been out of prison? He was arrested for essentially going rogue or failing to guard the fruit, which we'll talk about in a minute. And at some point, he became a pirate. Or did he immediately join Kaido's crew afterwards? Because that gap in between him being arrested and being here seems kind of short for, a stint as a pirate captain. Jinbei says that he was a rogue member of CP9, which I wonder if he means like he didn't do things the way they wanted to, or if he went rogue before he was arrested. But essentially he went to prison. I would imagine he didn't go to Impel Down just because of his ability to escape, and the idea is that people don't escape from Impel Down. We've had a lot of people who have seemingly escaped by now, but I feel like Who's Who would have been held in Impel Down just because of the idea of a secret intelligence agency. But I also think that he was probably held somewhere else just because he had the ability to escape. Now, if we look at the timeline, this incident happened 12 years ago, which would make Luffy 7 at that point. And 7 years old is when Luffy ate the fruit and he was talking with Shanks. Now, Shanks was on Fuchsia Village probably for a year in his whole stint with knowing Luffy and everything. And somewhere in that time, there must have been some kind of collision between Who's Who and Shanks in which he got the fruit and took it back to Fuchsia Village. And this brings up so many questions for me because one, what was that interaction like between Shanks and Who's Who? Was there even interaction? It could just be the possibility that something happened to the ship and the fruit essentially was lost at sea and Shanks found it. Maybe there was no actual fight for the fruit. Why does the world government have this fruit in the first place? Now, you would think that just because it is a devil fruit in general, that the world government would, maybe take it and keep it for their own use. but the fact that they had CP9 guarding this fruit makes me think that there's more importance to it. I don't really lend any idea to the fact that it was Roger's fruit, just because, one, I like the idea of Roger not having a fruit, and two, it would have been more prominent in the story. We have never in any way, shape, or form seen Roger have a fruit, let alone the Gomu Gomu no Mi. But there has to be some reason that the government was so adamant about protecting this fruit they had CP9 guarded. If you think about it, CP9 is the group they had looking for the ancient weapons, some of the most destructive things in history, and one of the things that they tried to wipe from everyone else's mind. So the fact that they were here guarding this fruit, it adds a lot of importance to what the Gomu Gomu no Mi is and what it probably can do. Now, I won't go as far as to say it's some kind of miracle fruit, or there's some kind of property that makes it, absolutely overpowered, but there's probably something to it that the world government found useful, and that they were trying to, I don't know, maybe give it to an admiral, maybe give it to someone within their line of work that kind of keeps that fruit in play and gives them that ability. And I mostly say that just based on the fact that they really haven't tried to get the fruit from Luffy or get Luffy in general. They just noticed that, okay, we'll keep an eye on him. We'll see what's going on. But that is a chapter. It had a kind of, it was an okay beginning, but that end was really solid. That really got me intrigued and involved. I'm about to go look through all the Gomu Gomu no Mi lore and just see if I can find anything that kind of connects to this point here. I really like just every time there's a huge connection from something in the past and something to now. And you can start putting puzzle pieces together and just craft theories. I really love when a chapter brings that out. And this chapter definitely did that. As always, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. There will be another poll in the description below, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye.